Hello, my name is Tristan Lopez, and I will be talking about the spatial and temporal dimensions of sound and what they do in film. So, for this discussion, I will be talking about how sound is used in film, the spatial and temporal dimension of sound, and I will also be giving an example as to how the audience interprets sound in film. Sound in film goes hand in hand with the visuals that the cinematographers establish. The sound also helps make the audience aware of spatial and temporal dimension. It raises expectations. It gives clues as to where the plot is heading. It can call our attention to events that are happening on and off screen, and it can also develop the characters along. What this means for us as moviegoers is that the soundtrack of a film can actually tell us if something is far away. It can show if the scene is taking place inside or outside, for example. It can raise suspense, and it can even play with our expectations. Some examples of how this is accomplished are dialogue, Foley sounds, sound effects, reoccurring sounds, and narration. So sound can call the attention of a viewer to the spatial dimensions of a film. The viewer sees the sound as coming from the image, such as footsteps from the character coming from their shoes. This can also be explained as anywhere in a three-dimensional setting, so the sound can be coming from anywhere in a room basically. Here I have a video that kind of shows how spatial dimension plays a big role in films. Alright, so even though we don't see the monster for a majority of that clip, we kind of know in which location he's around, and that's because the sound of the floorboard and the clicking of the monster actually tells us how far away the monster is, what direction he's facing, and also towards the latter half of the clip, the trashing of the room can actually show which route the monster takes as he follows the timer that's going off screen. So next we have temporal dimension. And this book gives a really good example, and it says to think about two of our instruments playing at the same time. So temporal dimension is that when the sound is giving an object life, or it animates it in a way, and the sound and image on screen can move at the same time, or they can move separately, both reaching different effects. Now what this means for us, I have a clip right here that I want to show almost in its entirety because it brings in all of these concepts together. So, all of this in action. So, Charlie's clicking sound plays on our expectations, as I said earlier. Playing on our expectations is one of the ways which sound actually progresses the film. So, the clicking sound coming off from the off-screen portion of the shot, even though it comes from off-screen, we can see that it's from the back seat. And we can infer so just because of the way in which we perceive the sound. The image is on screen as well as the background tells us that the car is moving, so that's an example of temporal. You can hear faintly the wheels, and of course on screen you see the trees moving. And here I have a quote that I found. So we focus a lot of attention on how loud Charlie's clicks were and when they were coming from. We'd set those levels, and then days later we'd make it a bit louder and come back and make it a bit lower. We went back and forth on those quite a bit. And here are my references.